Howdy, Vine Trippers. I wanted to take just a moment before the show begins to tell you a little bit about the Texas Wine Lover website and app. It is a definite must-have for anyone wanting to explore the Texas wine industry. Now, they have a website. It's txwinelover.com, but they also have an app that you can actually download to your phone. You can find it on the Apple App Store or on the Google Play Store for Android devices. And it's going to be kind of your one-stop shop for when you go out to visit these great places. So you get to listen to them here on the podcast or watch them on YouTube to learn about these wineries. But when you go to visit, make sure you're checking out that app, because I'm sure you're probably going to want to visit other places in the area as well. And you can do incredible searches. It's the most comprehensive listing of winery information in Texas. And you can look for wineries in your area to go visit multiple places. You can sort those listings by finding out ones that are kid-friendly, maybe some that are pet-friendly. If you want to look for events or things that are going on, if you want to find those that can host RVs, just about any category you can think of, you can actually sort those listings and find wineries around you to go visit. The app is free to use for you and I. So it's a perfect, again, hand-in-hand tool when you're going out to visit wineries. Listen to them on this podcast, watch them on YouTube, and then start making your plans to go visit and use the Texas Wine Lover app when you go. Now, it can also be a great tool. Maybe you're not even looking for a winery. You just happen to be traveling to some place in Texas, and you just might think, I've got a little extra time. I wonder if there are any wineries in the area. You can actually look them up in the Texas Wine Lover app. You can search either by the name of a winery, or it's got a map view. So you can actually pull up a map of the area around you and see locations of wineries near you and go visit them and support the Texas wine industry. So you got to use the Texas Wine Lover app. It goes perfectly with this podcast. So make sure you check it out before you go on your next trip among the vines. Again, it's www.txwinelover.com, or look up the Texas Wine Lover app on your favorite phone app store and make sure you get that downloaded and use it frequently. You will benefit from it and ask for Texas wines. Let's see the Texas wine industry prosper and go visit some of these fun places that I'm bringing to you on the show. Texas Under Vine, an exploratory podcast to scout out the best that Texas wine country has to offer. I'm your wine guide, Scott, and I'm here to lead you on an auditory expedition to the vineyards and wineries across the great Lone Star State. Each episode will cover a different vineyard, winery, or wine-related business operating in Texas. You'll hear interviews, descriptions, and details about each location that will excite you to visit and experience them for yourself. Ready to plan a wine tour? Use these episodes to choose the most interesting spots for you and your friends to check out. Most of all, enjoy hearing about the rapidly growing wine industry in the state and what makes our wines and wineries the best. Howdy, fellow Vine Tripper. Welcome to episode 75 for the Texas Under Vine podcast. Today, I journey back out to the Wine Road 290 to the heart of Texas wine country to visit the Hill Country Tasting Room of Covington Cellars, which is actually located in the small little town of Hye, just outside of Johnson City. Now, the owner of this wine destination is Cindy Lawson, and she actually has roots based here in Texas. She's from here, living in the Houston area at first, but then ended up moving up to Washington State, where she actually began her winery. Now, like a lot of good winemakers, she and her husband started out making wine in their garage until they eventually opened up a tasting room in Woodenville, Washington, back in 2005 to establish Covington Cellars. So she's no stranger to this wine game. But as things would go, she ended up getting sent back through her regular job to Texas in 2014 and got really excited to be back in her home state and had a vision for expanding their operations to include a Texas tasting room here in the hill country of Texas. And not just to provide Washington wines, which is part of their heritage and they do, but to also grow Texas fruit right here on their property in their own vineyard and make Texas-based wines as part of their Covington Cellars umbrella as well. So this particular winery offers wines from both Washington State, which is no slouch in the wine industry, as you may know, but they also are making wines and bringing wines from Texas as well. So you get this dual tasting of wines from both their new operations here in Texas as well as their heritage, the operation that's actually still running there in Washington State as well. And they opened their Hill Country tasting room in about 2021. And on that location, they have about 50 acres and it's right off the wine road. You take kind of a little road up a hill where they've cleared a bunch of the dead trees and things like that to give you a gorgeous view. It's about 1,500 feet above sea level. So you really get a nice view of the hill country there from their tasting room. And there they've also planted a 5-acre vineyard that's planted to Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Syrah. And as I said, in addition to this Texas operation, they still have the Washington winery, Covington Cellars in Washington, that's still running. They even have 2 locations there. And so it's still going strong and producing great wines there. And so this is just kind of a new branch, a new opening and venue for Covington Cellars in the heart of the Texas Hill Country. And on their site, they have a beautiful tasting room. It's open and airy, very homey feeling. They have a nice outdoor space where you could enjoy that view while you're sipping on some great wine. And speaking of wines, their flagship wines that they're really known for are Cabernet Franc and Sangiovese. And they even do a Brunello-style Sangiovese, which if you're familiar with Brunello, there are some very strict aging requirements for Brunello from the Italian government that require it to be in barrel for 3 years and in the bottle for 1 year. So it does spend an extended aging period, resulting in a very, very beautiful dark wine. And they actually follow those restrictions, but they also actually age it a little bit more in the bottle. So you'll hear more about that in the interview, but they've got Cabernet Franc even planted in their vineyard that they have there on site, which they've named the High Five in celebration of their location at High and the 5 acres that they have planted for that vineyard. They also feature several different tasting flights that you can choose from when you go in to do your tasting, as they have a great variety of wines, multiple different things that you can do. They even have a really fun one called North of 90, which is all of their wines that have actually scored a 90 or higher by a nationally known critic. So these are really high quality libations you're getting here at Covington Cellars. And in addition to these amazing wines, one of the things I really like is their desire to give back to the community and to the world in general. They actually have a wine called Rough House that is a really special wine because proceeds from this wine actually get donated to an organization called Valor Dogs, which is an organization that honors our military service personnel. They actually raise puppies and things like that to assist with the service personnel and among other things. It's a really cool organization. You should look it up. And the sales of this Rough House wine, actually, it's a really good wine. I'll tell you more about it later. But it actually goes towards this organization. So you know you're giving to a good cause as well when you purchase that wine. And in addition to the wines, they also have an in-house chef at both of their locations in Washington and in Texas. So they provide great food while you're there. You're not just going to get a little tray full of cheese and meats. Although they do provide charcuterie, they have all kinds of really tasty things that change frequently and especially seasonally that you can enjoy as a dinner while you're there, lunch, things like that. But also, if you're a fan of doing wine pairing, they have some great bites that you can get that you can taste with the different wines to see how they match up. So in summary, this particular winery has such a beautiful tasting room, amazing wines to try right there in the heart of the hill country. And when I went to actually do my interview, I was actually able to move out of the main tasting room to a little side event room where I was able to sit down with Cindy Lawson. She is the proprietor and the founding winemaker for Covington Cellars. And we got to talk a lot about their long heritage that they have working with Washington State wines and their operations that they have there, and then how they're bringing that dream and that vision and that great experience to Texas and making great Texas wines now, and excited to be able to release some of the ones from their vineyard that they have on site. So I know you're anxious to hear from her. So let's go to that interview now. Howdy, Vine Trippers. So I'm here at Covington Cellars in the Hill Country and looking forward to sharing with you a little bit about this winery and this location. I'm here with Cindy Lawson, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her background and this location itself. So without further ado, Cindy, tell me a little bit about yourself. What got you into this crazy wine industry?
Sure. Well, thank you for being here and for talking with me today. I actually fell in love with wine very young. I was 19 years old. I grew up in Houston.
We'll say 21.
Yeah. I really, and when I fell in love with wine, it wasn't about drinking it. I was absolutely insatiable when it came to regions and varietals and vineyards and terroir. And by the time I was 30, I knew that wine needed to be a bigger part of my life. And so I was in Houston working for BP, and they offered me a job in Seattle. And there was a lot more wine going on in the state of Washington back in the mid-90s than there was here in Texas. So I sold my house, moved to Washington State. I didn't know a single soul there. And I just figured I would figure it out. And so I had a job, right? So I wasn't worried about money.
That's always a good thing.
And that's step one. And then I just started diving into wine. And I met my husband. He's a Washingtonian. Okay. And he didn't drink wine at all when I met him. In fact, he was a beer guy. Okay. And the tagline at Covington Cellars is it takes a lot of beer to make wine.
Right.
But when he did fall in love with wine, he's actually the one that has the curious nature and wanted to start making wine. I was perfectly happy drinking all the wonderful wines that already existed in the world. But we started making some hobby wine in our garage, and we lived in a town called Covington, which is just south of Seattle.
Okay.
And then my husband wanted to make wine commercially, and I thought, no, we can't do that. We don't know anything about that.
Right. It's different from a little car boy, right?
Yeah. So we went to UC Davis and took some winemaking classes. And then I studied wine and food pairing at the Culinary Institute in St. Helena. So I love to cook and garden and entertain. And so I knew that if we did do a winery, we were going to have a chef and a food component and all of that. So we started our first winery in 2002. Okay. And we bonded and licensed our shop. We had a separate shop from the house at Covington. Yeah. And so, we just
graduated from the garage.
Yep. And then, we moved our winery to a town called Woodenville, which is, we were the 19th winery to open our doors in Woodenville. That's where Chateau Saint Michel is.
Oh, okay, yeah. Where did that little place?
Yeah, and we were the 19th. And then within 10 years, there were 150 wineries in our little town. So lots of people that have heard about Washington wine know Woodenville. They know of Woodenville, or they've been there. And then in 2014, I moved back to Texas.
All right.
And I still have a day job. My husband and I believe in keeping our day jobs so we can put everything into the business and provide real jobs for the people that work here. Okay. So we actually provide 401k match and benefits just like we get at our jobs. But in 2014, my day job wanted me back in San Antonio, and I knew I was going to get to have my Texas winery. So
okay.
We have 50 acres here on the wine trail, and we planted our little, I call it my bite-sized vineyard. It's about 5 acres, little over 5 acres. And we harvested our first harvest off that this year. Okay. So we have Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Syrah.
You young, two varietals.
Yeah, and we have Atlas Vineyard Management. So Jack A. Mancuso is our vineyard manager. Okay. And we're making our wines currently over at Untamed.
Oh, yeah.
So when I first started making Texas wine in 2019, I did take the fruit up to our Washington winery because we have a state-of-the-art winery. Okay. And we have 3 winemakers there, and we have everything we need. And quality is all I care about. So I was scared, really honestly, to let somebody else make our wine.
Don't touch my fruit.
That's right. But in 2024, we get our High Plains fruit from Daniel's Vineyard. Okay. And I thought, I had gotten to know Dane and Untamed and all their wines and how skilled he is. And so our winemaker got with him and gave them our exact protocol. Okay. And so he did a great job. And so for 2 years now, we've been making our wine over there.
Okay. So you started here, you were kind of taking it up there, but now everything is kind of being done right here in this area because that's right down the road.
That's correct. It's just 2 doors down,
Yeah.
and we make our High Plains wine there, and we made our estate harvest from our own little vineyard. Our vineyard name is called High Five, HYE, is the town, and 5 because it's 5 acres. So that's the name of our vineyard. And we're super excited.
And you still have your Washington location then that's fully up and running.
We do. We have 2 locations in Washington. We do all of our Washington production there. Okay. And we source our Washington fruit from 13 different farmers. We have our own little vineyard property in the Rocks District of Walla Walla Valley. Okay. Also a very small parcel of land there. But we source from many vineyards from across the state that we've been working with for 20 years. So we've been in the business a long time. Yeah. And so we've gotten to know the farmers, and we truly believe that wine is made in the vineyard. And so our farmers are our family, and we take care of them and they take care of us. So it's a great relationship.
And let me rewind for just a second. You opened the doors here at what time?
In May of 2021.
2021.
So, we opened right after the pandemic. Of course, we weren't anticipating a pandemic. So, right. But we have been slowly growing, and, we're very, authenticity is one of our core values here. So, we really try to be very authentic and organic in our growth and the experiences that we give our guests. I don't know if you noticed, but none of my signage ever says winery because we're not producing on property yet. So I wouldn't call us a winery here. I would call us a vineyard and tasting room.
Okay.
Those little details I think really matter when you're putting a product out into the world to make sure that people know that your quality is all you care about, and authenticity is very, very important to us.
Yeah. Being upfront with everything.
Absolutely.
I like to call on the podcast. I don't want to focus in and just say it's just about wineries. I call it wine destinations. So you go to these great wine destinations to drink some wine.
Absolutely. And we are a great location. We have wonderful views. Like we like to joke and say that the views are almost as good as the wine. But we really got lucky with the views. We didn't even know these views were here. There was a lot of oak wilt on the property. And so when I cleared out those trees to build, I was like, well, look at the view. So that was very exciting.
And I love how the tasting room is so kind of wide open and airy. All the beautiful windows going all around. It really brings in a lot of light. It's a really kind of open area environment that was really
I wanted it to feel like you're walking into our living room. And I didn't have a budget for a designer. So I picked every color and drew it all out myself. And I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. I do think it feels very homey and comfortable, and people like to hang out. And so it's good. We have an outdoor space and an indoor space. And then we also have like the Oak Grove where people can mill about the vines and enjoy some wine out there as well.
Okay. And then so you kept the name. So it's Covington Cellars in all 3 locations?
Correct.
Okay. So then this would be considered Covington Cellars Hill Country. I think I saw on your sign up front. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And then what made you choose this particular location when you were shopping for a place?
So I was looking for land quite a long time. As I mentioned, I got here in 2014, and we didn't buy this land until 2018. Okay. I initially, of course, started looking a little bit closer to Fred. Okay. But I didn't find the right parcel, and it just happened the way that it happened. And we're really pleased that we found this property, and it is a little bit further away from Fredericksburg, but we're finding that there's more and more growth out here in Johnson City. So, and we being in the cute little town of Hye, it's very warm and friendly, and we just love it here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot of wineries going up on this side of the wine road, especially out here in Johnson City. And how perfect was that? Being just 2 doors down from what would become your Custom Crush location with Untamed. I mean, it all worked together perfectly for you.
It really did. It worked out great.
That's really cool. So we talked a little bit about your fruit. So you got the 5 acres here, and then you said you source from the High Plains as well. Mm-hmm. Are you selling and making Washington fruit and Texas fruit here, or
do you keep those separate, or how does that look?
Right. No, I will always show my Washington wines here because it's my story. And again, authenticity is super important to us. And Washington makes great wine. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're on the same latitude line as Burgundy and Bordeaux.
Okay.
So really, I tell my team it's our job not to screw it up because we really get great fruit nearly every year. Very, very rare is it that we have any issues with growing wine, and that's different than here.
For sure.
Right? So here we say a lot of prayers.
It's all challenges here.
Yes. But so, yeah, so we do have some Washington wines, but we also are growing our Texas wine program. Again, that authenticity, we don't buy shiners. We don't buy bulk wine. We want to be able to look you in the eye and tell you that we made this wine ourselves. Right. So it takes a hot minute, right, to grow wine and make it. So yeah, we're excited about the new harvest.
So how would you describe your winemaking style?
So we're old world in our winemaking style. Very little intervention. We believe in letting the fruit speak for itself. A lot of now our Texas wine we have to make maybe a little bit differently than the Washington wines. We made our first vintage of Texas wine was 2019.
Okay.
And it was lovely. And then we harvested our 2020. And my winemaker, we picked it a little too early. We picked it as we would in Washington.
Right. To maintain that acidity.
Still haven't released that wine because it is still maintaining.
Got to calm down, right?
Yes. So we're learning and we.
Cool your jets, 2020.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I tell everybody we've made every mistake there is to make already. So, that's just kind of how we roll. We learn from things. And so we will be releasing the 2024 vintage of our Texas Tempranillo before we release the 2020, I'm afraid. But it's delicious. It's really good. And it'll calm down and it'll come around. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's a little edgy still, sour. So yeah, we do a lot of native fermentation. We do a lot of concrete and clay fermentation. So we like to make unexpected wines. That's kind of our tagline and things that make you think.
Okay. Well, in your opinion, now that you've been here in Texas for a little while, what would you say is one of the single biggest kind of challenges, we've already talked about it a little bit, but that you face in growing grapes and making wine here in Texas, as well as what do you think is one of the single biggest rewards for doing it here in Texas?
So I'm going to go with the easy one first is the reward. So my biggest reward is always the friendships that we make, the people that we meet, the community and the guests that come into our tasting room every day. That is my reward. People that know the wine business know that, you don't make a fortune making wine. You're rich in your friendships and what you've learned along the way. And I really genuinely believe that. I would like to make some money, don't get me wrong. But, and then for challenges, I think that this is our first vineyard. And so we are learning. We did hire some very good muscle to help us because we know what we don't know. But I just think that when you can't control the environment, we're doing everything we can very organically though. We like put up bat houses and things like that to help us with our, viticulture.
Yeah.
But it's always, what God wants to have happen.
Yeah. The story of the weather in Texas. Well, what would you say is one of your favorite varietals to work with?
So our flagship varietals are Cabernet Franc and Sangiovese.
Okay.
They have been our flagship varietals since we started making wine 20-something years ago. We did plant Cabernet Franc here. I hired Bill Blackman of William Chris early on to help me with consultancies of the vineyard, and he helped us with some of our soil sampling and things like that. And he and the people that we work with, Atlas Vineyard Management, that actually installed and managed the vineyard for us, all thought that Cabernet Franc and Syrah would be good varietals for us here. We have a very unique site here because of our elevation. We have, we're at almost 1,500 feet. Okay. We have a mix of soils. It's very rocky. We took 75 dump trucks of rock out of the vineyard before we even planted it. Yeah. And we've got the wind, which helps keep things dried out. And so they think we have a very special site. So far, so good. We got a nice harvest. The first, it was very small, obviously, because it was the first harvest. But the wine is delicious. I tasted it the other day, and I'm not even one to like new wine, and I was very impressed. I'm very, very excited about it. It'll be a couple years before.
Oh, sure, right.
But I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. Because you just got that harvested in
July.
Yeah, and fermented and all that. So excellent. So I imagine it's aging in some barrels right now.
We use new French oak, about 40% new oak.
Yeah.
We also like to use puncheons, which are double-sized barrels. So we use a lot of puncheons. Okay. So my temp is all in puncheons. And then my Cab and Cab Franc, we bought just 2 new French oak barrels because we don't want the oak to overtake the fruit.
Yeah.
And the rest were used barrels that we sent down from our Washington winery.
Okay. Well, I love to, when I get to talk to winemakers, because I like to ask this question. So you've worked with a lot of different varietals, making different wines, and we talked a little bit about your favorites there, but is there a varietal that you've always wanted to work with and you just haven't had a chance yet?
Well, I love Mourvedre.
Okay.
I almost planted Mourvedre.
Yeah.
But, I see my neighbors, William, Chris, and they're like the kings of Mourvedre. And I thought, let's just drink their delicious Mourvedre. I love a good GSM blend. So we have a GSC. We have Cinsault instead of the Mourvedre. So that's just one varietal that I might play with one day,
Kind of sitting in the back of your mind there when we experiment. So do you have plans to grow your vineyard at all?
That is unknown. Okay. If money is no object, then sure, why not? But it is rather spendy. And I have a lot of ideas. I have way more ideas than I do money. Right. So I can totally see, we have 50 acres. So I can totally see using more than just 5 of them for vineyards.
Yeah. See what that first vintage comes out as and see where you go from there. You got room to grow, we can say at least.
We absolutely do.
What are some of the favorite wines with your customers?
So, it's funny. I track all this all the time. Like, what's my home run hitter? And they all kind of go at the same time. We have a whole flight that we call North of 90, where every wine on the flight has scored higher than 90 points from a national critic.
Yeah.
And so really, I say I love all my children the same. But we have a wine that we make in tribute to the men and women in the U.S. Armed Forces. It's called Rough House. It's a Cabernet Zinfandel blend. Okay. And we donate proceeds for that wine to Valor Dogs, which is an awesome organization. Yeah, they raise puppies to help wounded veterans in all kinds of different issues. So that's a one that our guests really love. And then, of course, our Cab Franc. And our Sangiovese is called Ode, and that is our Brunello-style wine. So those 3 are probably guest favorites, I would say.
Okay. Do you do a lot of aging on that Sangiovese?
So yes, it's per classic Brunello rules. Yes, so it's minimum of 3 years in the barrel and a minimum of 1 year in the bottle. But we do a little bit longer bottle aging. We really like those tertiary notes that develop with time. It's lovely. It's stunning.
Cool. What about events or things like that? Do you host any kind of events or things here? I think I saw a sign out front said live music. So
yes, we have live music on Saturday afternoons, and we do host events. In fact, we've done a couple of weddings, and I think we're a little better for wedding rehearsal dinners, just because our winery is open on Saturdays when most people want to get married. But we do corporate events, and we do a tremendous amount of events at our Washington winery as well. But we have chefs at both of our winery locations. Chef Brianna here is super talented, and we do all kinds of wine and food pairing and sit down dinners and events and all kinds of things like that.
Okay. Well, let's say the listeners now are getting excited. They're getting a taste and they want to come check it out. Let's talk about what they can expect if they come in for a tasting. So what kind of a standard kind of tasting looks like. And so when someone comes in to do a tasting, I know you mentioned a flight of wines a moment ago. Do they have a set flight they choose from, or do they choose their own wines? And how much does it cost? Things like that.
Sure. So we have we have several flights that people can choose from. We have our standard mixed flight that's wine only, and that'll have whites. We have an orange wine and some reds, and that's $25. Okay. And then our north of 90 flight is an all red flight. And as I mentioned, all of the wines on that flight have scored higher than 90 points from a national well-known critic. Yeah. That's $35. And then we have wine and food pairing flights. So we have two of those. We have a wine, cheese, and chocolate flight. That's really fun, especially for the upcoming Valentine's Day and holidays. And then we have a wine and food pairing flight where we pair our wines with 4 wines with an actual food. And it's not just tiny little, it's actual like good sized food. So it could be considered lunch. And so those are $45 and $55.
Wow, nice. Do customers need reservations to do those tastings?
No, you don't technically need a reservation. It's a good idea to make a reservation, but we are open daily and we do offer those every day.
Okay. And what are your hours?
So if you just remember 12 to 5, you're good. Fridays and Saturdays, we're open till 6.
Okay. Are you family friendly, pet friendly, things like that?
We are. We allow service animals anywhere and then other animals on the patio or outside. And children are allowed everywhere.
Okay. You talked about food a moment ago. What kind of food options do you have? What's Brianna cooking up? What kind of things do you do?
So we have a nice menu every day. We have, like right now, there's deviled eggs with bacon jam. There's a flatbread that is made with Gruyere and sausage and apples. There's meatballs. There's we have, of course, charcuterie, but we always have 4 or 5 hot items that are available every day, and it changes seasonally. So do our wine and food pairing flights. So we like to say you can put them on repeat and come do them every quarter, and it's going to be something different every time.
It's like a different experience every 4 times a year when you come in.
Exactly.
So I like that. Do you have any minimum group sizes or maximum group sizes, should I say, for like if a big group's coming in? I know you probably want to make reservations, but do you have any kind of caps on that?
So we try not to have rules, we try to welcome everybody. We prefer that you call us and let us know when you're coming, especially if you have more than 6 people. Yeah. And that's just so that we can give you the level of attention and service that hospitality is our business. That's the business that we're in. And we want to make sure that you get the service that we want, that you need to have.
And especially I would think if they're going to get food and things like that, you want to be able to know what you need and prepare that and everything. It adds a whole nother component to it. So from the planning side.
Yes.
What are some of the best times to come visit? What's your busy time and your slowest times?
Throughout the year, I would say, summer gets a little slower because it's warm outside and people are on vacation. And then January, we'd love to see you in January because a lot of times people are on diets and, they don't come out. But the rest of the year, it's pretty busy. Weekends, of course, are busier than the weekdays, but we can have a very busy Tuesday as well. So,
yeah. Do you offer a wine club?
We certainly do.
Tell me about it.
Sure. We have a standard wine club, except ours is customizable. So you get to pick what you want in our bottle. So a couple weeks prior to when we charge your cards, we'll send you an email and says, these are the wines that were selected. And then you can go in and customize however you like. And we have 3 levels. We have the 4-bottle, 6-bottle, and 8-bottle. Okay. And if you're an 8-bottle club member, then you get, as long as we have them, we have 138 rows. And after your second allotment, we make a beautiful sign and that says whatever you want your row. So we dedicate a row in the vineyard for you. And that's just a complimentary thing that we give to the people that are our 8-bottle club members.
Okay. And then is that a mix of Texas and Washington wines in those shipments?
They will be. Our Texas wines have been sold out. So I'm excited to be releasing my new Texas wines very soon. But yes, they will be both Texas and Washington wines. Do
your Washington-based wine club members get a taste of those Texas wines
too? They
do. I love it.
They absolutely do. And in fact, that's one thing that I really am excited about is showing my Washington club members. They've gotten all of our Texas wines. Every one of them, I put them in the club and they can allocate too, and they don't. Yeah. And in fact, I did a side-by-side blind tasting of our Texas Tempranillo and a Washington grown and made Tempranillo from another producer, and our Texas Tempranillo won. And it was a blind tasting.
I love
So,
that. So
I
you're
was
really
very-
spreading that word out of
Absolutely.
Texas, because I find that to be such a challenge here in Texas. People either don't know that we make wine here,
Right.
or they already have a bad opinion of what the wine used to be.
Right.
And so there's not an openness. Being able to get that spread to other places, especially a great place like Washington where wine is highly valued, I think that's a really cool thing.
And we are seeing that, people come in, certainly they come in because they know we also have Washington wines, but we are converting people to love Texas wines just as much.
Yeah. And I love that, because that's a picture of your heritage, and it shows you didn't just come here and say, well, we're gonna forget Washington, we're just Texas. You got the whole layers. I mean, wine is great from so many places. I love wine from all over the world.
Exactly.
And so being able to promote that is great. I love that.
And that's the whole point of wine, is to taste the world, right? And I'm so proud to be back here. I mean, like I said earlier, I didn't leave Texas till I was 30, and I left Texas to learn about wine. So now to be full circle, to be back here with a property and a vineyard and making Texas wines off my vineyard, I'm very excited about that.
Well, I would almost say the journey is complete, but I would say the journey is almost just starting in a new chapter right now, right? With that new vintage and everything.
I would agree with that.
This new launch here. That's great. The wine club, can they sign up online, or do they need to do that in the winery, or
No, they can
cellar?
sign up online. We ship wine as well. So if they're in another state, or if they're in another city in Texas, we can ship it to them. And we have like a flat rate shipping, like it's $20 or something. So it's not expensive. And
Okay.
yeah, and they could fill out the case if they wanted to, and it wouldn't cost them anything extra for shipping.
Oh, okay.
Kind of leads me to my next question of, if someone is maybe out of state or maybe further out in the state or wherever, they can't easily get here, but they really want to taste those great wines we've been talking about. Do you do any kind of distribution, or can people buy on your website or things like that?
So the website, you can buy on our website for sure. We do not distribute our wines. We really want to know the people that are drinking our wines, and we don't make a lot of wine. We're a boutique winery. I know sometimes people get confused when they see this beautiful building. They think we have, a lot of money or a lot of investors or make a lot of wine, and none of that is true. It's just my husband and I that own the business. We don't have any investors, and we only make about 2,000 cases of wine. So it's not very big at all. Yeah. And you can't find them in grocery stores or
Very direct to consumer. And
yes.
but that website's a great place for people to go if they can't get here yet. You got to get here at some point, but until you can get here, that could at least give them a chance to try some of those great wines and get those ordered. So we talked just a little bit about growing the vineyard a moment ago. And I know we talked about this being this new chapter that's kind of starting here, but do you have plans for future growth, or things that you'd like to see, or things that you'd like to put in here at the wine location? I was about to say winery, at the wine destination here.
We do. I mean, I would love to see, us have like a club space that's dedicated to wine club. And we are actually starting a new series in January, and we're calling it the Covington Live Well Workshops.
Okay.
And we believe we have 4 areas of expertise, if you will: wine, cooking, gardening, and entertaining.
Okay.
And so each week they're going to be on Saturdays at noon. And each week it'll be a different topic, one of those 4 topics. And they're workshops that are led by either our chef or we have a master gardener that's on staff here, or myself or one of our other teammates here that are very knowledgeable about wine. We'll bring in guest like small business owners, like and we haven't flushed all of them out yet, but like for like around Father's Day, I thought, why don't we do a grilling class and bring in one of the pit masters from the area to teach a little bit of basic barbecue kind of stuff. So we're very excited about doing those kinds of workshops. Some of them will be free. Some of them will have a small fee depending on what they're getting. We'll certainly teach about wine and food pairing, because that's our favorite thing to talk about. And growing an herb garden and how to, take the stress out of entertaining, things like that. Yeah. So we're very excited about that. So that's one area of growth that we are adding to the our repertoire next year. And we're also doing a lot of partnership programs with some local hotels and local Airbnbs to offer special wine and food pairing events and tastings for their guests and their consumers. So we're looking forward to that too.
That's cool.
You know, I'm a father. I would love to sit back and drink a little bit of wine and listen to a pit master talk about some barbecue techniques. That would be a great afternoon.
It would be.
I love that. I'm going to be watching for those.
All right.
I'm sure you've talked to people about wine and about your business, about things like that before. Is there ever a question that you've never been asked in an interview that you've always wanted to talk about your wine destination or about your business or things like that?
You know, I think our message is just, we're in the hospitality business, and I tell my team all the time, like, I don't know if you noticed, but when you come up to our door, you are greeted with wine.
Yes.
Every time.
Yep.
And if we miss somebody, we beat ourselves up about it because we're really very intentional about that. So quality is all we care about. And that's from, if you can't make great wine, you shouldn't be in this business, right? So we really believe that the experience that our guests get needs to match the quality of the wine and the beautiful views and all that. So we're very motivated to make sure that our guests get the best experience when they come and visit us. And it's supposed to just be a fun experience, right? There's no room for pretension in wine, in my opinion. We just want it to taste great, deliver every single time. We want you to be proud to share it with your family and friends and come back and get some more.
I love that. And this may be kind of tailing right on to that. My final question, which you kind of already hit on a lot of those points, but my final question I always like to ask is, there's a lot of great places that people can go to drink wine in Texas. So what would you say sets Covington Cellars apart in a few words to really say, this is my listeners and watchers got to get there as soon as they can?
It's our team, I think.
Yeah.
We really have some passionate people that are here that are very knowledgeable and very passionate, from our winemaking team to our viticulture team to our culinary team and our tasting stewards. And everyone is just loves being here. I'm very blessed that way that we've managed to create a culture that people really, really, I tease them and say they drank my Kool-Aid, but I mean, I'm serious about that. And I tell them, the best wine in the world doesn't taste good to somebody that doesn't feel appreciated. And so we want to make sure that all of our guests know how much we appreciate them being here.
And you get to taste that Kool-Aid for yourself and experience that incredible service and customer attention that you're going to receive when you go to visit them at their Hill Country tasting room. Now, before you go, make sure you check out their website. It's www.covingtoncellars.com. And when you go there, you're going to be prompted whether you're visiting the Texas location or the Washington location. So you can get information on both locations there. But I know you're interested in that Texas Hill Country location. So you can find a lot of good information on that website. And you'll see information about both of those tasting rooms, Texas and Washington. And as Cindy said, you can also shop for their wines directly on their website, have them shipped directly to your door. And while you're there, you can join their wine club on their website, check out their event calendar, see what's going on, and you can even read more about Cindy and her team right there on the website. And don't forget, when you go to see them, make sure you tell them you heard about them on this podcast, Texas Under Vine. All right. After we wrapped up the interview, I moved out of that little event room and went back into the main tasting room where I was able to do a flight of the wines to be able to taste the incredible craftsmanship and love that have gone into these wines that they're producing at Covington. And I worked my way throughout the flight and tasting different wines and seeing what I liked. And as I did so, Cindy and her staff would bring out to me these small bites of things to be able to pair with each of the wines that I was tasting. So it was a really fun experience to be able to sip the wine and then take a taste of something and then sip the wine again to see how things paired and how they went together. It was a really delightful experience as I went through that whole flight. They really do draw on years of experience in winemaking. And even though they may be young to the Texas market, they rely and they draw on some great and vast experience already with wines. So you're going to get incredible wines, incredible service, all of that when you go to see them at Covington Cellars. Don't be fooled by the fact that they haven't been here in Texas very long. And when it came down to choosing which was my favorite, of course, it always comes down to a difficult decision. And this time I really had 2 bottles in front of me that I kept going back and forth. Do I want this one? Do I want that one? I wanted both of them, but I could only pick one for the episode library for this particular episode. So I had to pick one. And when it finally came down to it with the tiebreaker, I picked the Rough House one that I talked to you about earlier in the episode and that Cindy mentioned and talked about as well. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon and Zinfandel blend. Very, very rich, beautiful wine, which had beautiful dark notes, that jammy flavor you kind of get from Zinfandel. Just a delight to drink in my glass. So I really liked this one just for the wine itself. However, the added above and beyond was the fact that I know that when I bought this bottle, portion of the proceeds went to that incredible organization, Valor Dogs. And so I'm really excited to be able to support them as well, just by buying the bottle and getting to enjoy it myself. It is a great cause, and you really need to try this one when you go to see them at Covington Cellars. All right, well, it's time to put on my boots and head on down the road to bring you even more great wine destinations and all the information that you need to know about them. But before I go, I have a few requests from you. First off, if you're enjoying the content that I'm bringing you, would you consider supporting the podcast? So I do all of this out of my pocket. I don't make any money from this. Matter of fact, I lose money, but I do it because I enjoy it. It's a passion. I have a few Patreon subscribers out there. Thank you. All love to my Patreon subscribers. And for those of you that might be interested in supporting the podcast, if you go to my website, TexasUnderVine.com, and go up to the top, you will see a button to become a patron, which will take you to my Patreon site. For just a few dollars a month, you can get some behind the scenes extras that no one else gets, like photos at the winery, a video walkthrough of the destination so you can kind of see what it's like before you go. You can even find out where I'm going before everybody else does. So there's a few little perks that no one else gets that go only to my Patreon subscribers. And those few dollars a month really add up with the others that are giving to help cover all of my travel costs, all the equipment, the things that I have to use to put this together every couple of weeks for you guys so you can learn more about amazing wine destinations here in Texas. So please go to that. And if you don't want to subscribe to the Patreon, that's a subscription for a few dollars a month. You could also just do a one-time donation. All of that would help. And for those that don't know, if you want to support your Texas Under Vine merchandise, I have a merch store. I have a handful of items available on the website. So if you go, again, to my website, Texas Under Vine, go to the merchandise store link. You can get some things with the Texas Under Vine logo. It's really high quality stuff. I've got some t-shirts, I've got some hoodies, some hats, beanies, all kinds of fun stuff. So even some little wine glasses and tumblers and things like that. So go check that out at TexasUnderVine.com. Lastly, I also wanted to give a quick little shout to those that are listening to this podcast through audio. Did you know that I do this on video every single week? So those of you that are listening to the audio are only getting a small portion of what I'm bringing to you about these amazing locations. You can actually go to my YouTube channel at Texas Under Vine, and you will find this podcast there with full video of everything that I do, the interviews, my intro, this outro that I'm doing right now. Everything is video based, and that's really the heart of where the podcast is. So I know sometimes it's easy to just listen to the audio while you're on the run or in the car, things like that. But if you got the time to sit down and watch it, I encourage you, go check out my YouTube channel and you'll be able to see everything in beautiful, colorful video. And speaking of YouTube, for those that are watching it here on YouTube, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe just right down below. And if you would, leave me a comment on the video. I really would love to have some feedback from everyone to see what you think of the episodes and how things are going with the podcast. So if you could leave a comment down below, it would really help me to see your feedback. I will reply to all comments. If you need something to comment about and you can't think of anything, tell me what's your favorite thing about Covington Cellars if you've been there before, or if you've never been there, tell me what you're excited about now that you've seen and heard a little bit about it through this episode. Or you could just tell me anything you want, comment anything you'd like about the episode down there. But I'd love to hear your feedback. And with that, my time is up. So don't forget, subscribe to the podcast and follow my socials to be notified anytime a new episode is released. And until then, happy trails and bottoms up, y'all.
Thanks for listening to Texas Under Vine. We strive to provide you with the best information about wine businesses all over Texas. Be sure to check out our website at TexasUnderVine.com and follow us on our socials at TexasUnderVine to stay up on all the upcoming episodes. Please email us with any suggestions or feedback. Also, contact us if you're interested in donating, sponsoring, or advertising on the podcast, just to help us cover our expenses and bring even more great info to you in future episodes. Above all, travel safely, and most especially, drink responsibly.
Howdy, Vine Trippers. Before we go, I wanted to direct you to my website, www.texasundervine, because there you're going to find a whole host of things. Besides access to the audio versions and the video versions of the podcast, you can also get those on any podcast provider, and then the video on YouTube. But there you're going to find a couple of things. Did you know that I actually sold some Texas Under Vine merchandise? I only have a handful of items available, about 5 different things, but they are up on my store. So if you go to the website, texasundervine.com, and go to the top, you're going to see a link for the merchandise store, and there you can get your own Texas Under Vine swag to proudly show all of your friends that you support the Texas wine industry, and you can get them started on and hooked on the podcast as well, so they can go visit even more of these great wine destinations. But in addition to the store, I also have a Patreon for my subscribers, people that support this show. I do this all out of a work of love from my heart. I do not make any money on this podcast. I'm actually in the red because I support it all out of my own pocket as a teacher. And it's mainly because I love wine and I love the Texas wine industry. So if you're willing to help me do that and you'd like to see more of these great episodes, hear more from these amazing winemakers, learn more about some fun destinations for you to go and visit on your own, I would appreciate if you would be willing to subscribe to my Patreon. So at the top of my website page, again, you'll find a Become a Patron link. And there you can get all the information about becoming a subscriber to the podcast here as a Patreon subscriber. It only costs a few dollars a month if you're willing to commit that. And there are various levels that you can commit to that each give you behind the scenes benefits that you don't get. And I do have some new things in the pipeline coming down soon. So you want to get on that sooner than later. But right now you can get things like behind the scenes photos at different wineries. You can get things like at one level, you'll get a video walkthrough of the winery. So for every episode, I will post a video walkthrough of me taking you through the winery itself so you can see what it's like before you go. And then at one level, you can even find out before everyone else where I'm headed the next week on the show as it comes out. So you'll know before everyone else. You get a sneak peek. So there's just different levels of benefits, and they all cost a different amount. And as you subscribe, you become the heart of this podcast. You really are what helps me succeed. You are my community and my people. And thank you so much for those that do subscribe. So if you're interested in joining Patreon, check the Become a Patron link at the top of the website. So again, the website is www.texasundervine.com. You can also go to all of my socials. I'm at Texas Undervine on almost all the social accounts. And check it out and consider sponsoring the podcast and maybe even buying some of that really cool swag on the merchandise store. Happy trails and bottoms up, Vine Trippers.